the purpose of our lives, I deeply believe, is that we are here to listen to an inner voice of love instead of an inner voice of fear.
Welcome to the Superhuman Selling podcast. If you have ever felt stuck, unsure, or convinced you weren't ready, you're going to want to hear every word of today's conversation. I am so excited for today's interview, and I'm going to give you a little bit of background before I introduce my guest today. If you know me, you know that I am a big Michael Beckwith fan and follower. But earlier this year, I was watching his podcast and show, and I see an interview from someone named Tama Kieves on her new book, Learning to Trust Yourself. Now, there's two things that I'm excited about in this moment. So, one, I always love his show and his podcast. Two, the theme of the book is everything that I believe in, everything that we teach in this community. And something that I always say, and we always say in the community, is that sales is the Trojan horse that we tend to pull in listeners and clients with who want to grow their sales. But as you know, if you've listened to this show for any amount of time, the real key to quantum sales growth is the inner work, like what we're going to be talking about on the podcast today. And so I'm listening to this incredible interview with Tama Kieves on Michael's podcast. It's phenomenal. I start reading her book, which, by the way, I cannot recommend enough that you go get this book, and we'll talk about it throughout the interview today. But I'm listening to it on audio, and I feel like I need to pause like almost every sentence just to absorb what was just said, because there are so many moments of truth all throughout it where you hear something and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I just need to digest that and let that sink in instead of just passing through it. So I know we're going to have that experience today on the show as well. And so I reached out to Tama and asked if she might be available for a conversation with our community. And the rest is history. And so, Tama, I'm going to share a little bit of your background in a minute, but welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited and grateful that you're here.
Oh, I'm honored to be here. Thank
Oh
you.
my gosh, I can tell you, I feel the energy through the Zoom. Sometimes you just connect with someone and you feel that energy. I already do. I know this is going to be so good. So, if you are not yet familiar with Tama and her work, she is a Harvard Law graduate turned best-selling author and transformational coach. This is your sixth book now, right? Is that right? Fifth or
It's 5 books, and then there's a Kindle book on Amazon, so yes, yes.
her work is helping thousands, if not millions, I would say, step into their power and their passion. And her newest book, Learning to Trust Yourself, is really a guide. I would say, to me, it feels like a manual, a guide, but it's for anyone who is wanting to unlock their highest potential by breaking through the blocks that are holding them back. So I'm thrilled you're here. I've got my notebook ready. So Tammy, here's where I'd love to start. So if someone is not familiar with your background and your story, you share about this moment on the beach, this kind of breakthrough moment, this pivotal moment that shifted everything. And I think there is a cinnamon raisin bagel involved in the moment. So if you can maybe speak to that moment in your life and that pivot point and what happened there that was the catapult to what you're doing now. I think that would be a powerful way to start.
Yeah, sure. I actually was sitting on this beach and eating a cinnamon raisin bagel and not sure I wanted to live. I mean, just it was really a terrifying moment of I just felt so bereft and unhappy because I was in a profession that was just destroying me. And actually, before I even tell you that moment, I'll just give you a little backstory of, so when I was young, I think like a lot of us when we're young, we sort of know what we might want to do or we have ideas what we might want to do. I knew that I wanted to write. That was my dream. I took creative writing in school and loved it or whatever. But I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and my family is Orthodox Jewish.
Mm.
And so if you came home and you said, I want to write, this was not an acceptable calling. This was not a good thing, right? My mother said something like, you're going to write? You're going to starve, you're going to write. And that was pretty much the end of the discussion. And then my mother being practical said something, what, you can't get a job? You'll write on the Sundays, right? Very practical, reasonable. And so that's what I did. I ignored I ignored that thought, I ignored that light, I ignored that joy, and, I went off to law school. I got accepted to Harvard Law School. I graduated with honors from Harvard Law School. It was a miracle, and I found myself on partnership track in a major law firm, and I was doing very, very well. And they actually had, sent me some notice about how well I was doing or whatever. And I took a vacation because I was so distraught. I just had felt so depressed at this law firm because for anybody out there listening where you're doing the right life, you're doing what you should do, you do what other people expect you to do or what looks good, and something in me just kept feeling like it was dying, like, "This can't be right, this can't be all there is, there's gotta be something else," and yet I have success, I have what other people tell you, right? So, I was on this beach thinking there is something dramatically wrong with me, of, like, what's wrong with me, and thank God a friend of mine had said something magical to me. He had said, Think about it. If you've been this successful doing something you don't even love, what could you do with what you love? And that was what was going through my head and whatever, and I just made that decision, like, I don't know, but you get one life, I'm gonna find out, and I decided to walk out of everything. I decided to walk out of that career without a plan, without money, without anything, of trusting, like, I have got to know in my own lifetime what happens if I follow this sense of love or desire or intuition or whatever the heck it is, right? Versus fear, and fear can often sound like practicality, so that was a pivotal moment.
Oh my gosh, there's 2 things I wanna call out, from what you just said. I knew that I was gonna need to take notes. I'm gonna, like, pause the conversation to digest this. So, one of the things you said that I wanna call out for our listeners is follow the love,
Yep.
follow the desire. We're gonna talk about that more as we go today, but I just wanna put a placeholder in that because I have practiced that again and again in my life, especially the past few years, and it has never steered me wrong, and I think
Yes.
that that is a really powerful compass towards where we're meant to go when we're in one of those intersections, so I wanna come back to that. The other thing you said, which I didn't even get to write it all out, but I, remember you said something like, "Fear can sound a lot like practicality." Is that
Yes.
about tell me more about that because that's so
That is one of the things that I do so much in my work because at this point in my career, I'm helping a lot of different what I call maverick souls. They've achieved a lot or they're in the process of achieving a lot, but they want something else or something stirring in them or something whatever. And I think it is one of the most damaging things right now in our culture is that we think we are being practical. We think we are being reasonable. So people will tell me their reasons like, well, Tama, come on, let's be real. I'm too old. Or come on, Tama, let's be real. I don't have that kind of education. Or Tama, let's be real. There's a million coaches or whatever it is, right? People have all of their reasons and they present them as though they are practical, they are reasonable, you're just being realistic. I'm a former New Yorker. I know it. I get it. I have that same mind. Like, let's be real, right? But that's not being real. That's not being real because here's what's realistic. There's a brightness and a brilliance and an intelligence that's in each one of us. There is something so alive in each of us that knows exactly what we need to do at any time. And it's unparalleled. It's never been here before. It's unprecedented. The reason that you don't hear about it is because it's yours. It's not somebody else's. It's yours. That's why trusting yourself is so important. It's about really learning to listen to your own delicious, divine, instinctive instincts, whatever you want to call it, of and so again, I'm gonna flag for people like when you think you're being practical, let's think again for just a moment because I'll tell you a different definition of practicality. It's called love. It's called fire. It's called genius. It's called desire. It's called energy. What I found in doing my own business and this whole crazy walk that I've been on that's been amazing of has been that like you said, that desire never lets you down. That never lets you down. And what it does is it gives you the energy to be unstoppable.
Mhm.
Practicality's from my head, but it's dry. right? It's this linear mindset, right? And believe me, I'm a very logical girl. I will use logic all the time. Of but a lot of times when we're just operating from our ideas, our head, our mind, it's dry. It doesn't have the staying power. It doesn't have the innate ability to do things you can't even imagine you can do. So I love that you flagged that point because I think that sometimes our fears about what's possible is sometimes masquerading as practicality.
Oh, so good and so true. And I'll hear things from members of our community sometimes like, "Oh, I wanna do this, but it's not quote unquote responsible." I'm curious your take on it. Number 1, for me in my life, anytime I've done anything that really led to a quantum leap, like the launch of this business, having our babies, finding my partner, just like the great things that I've done in my life, it's always been from a place of faith. It's always been from a place of, ooh, like I call it like butt clenching energy. But it's never been in the
Yes.
energy of responsible this or that. It's always been in the energy of following my heart. And the way that I tend to think about it, I'd love to hear your take on this, is our faith, our inner guidance, it always feels expansive. It's not rooted in practicality. It's not rooted in what is, because intuition is based on things that you don't have evidence for yet, right? It's that inner calling that you can't see all the pieces of the puzzle yet, but it's moving you forward. So is that how you think about it too?
I think that's a lot of it. I think one of the things I would first say is that when we're talking about faith or intuition, sometimes people roll their eyes or they start thinking, yeah, whatever, of. But I want people to realize that this is a form of higher intelligence, masterful intelligence. It's using your whole bodied intelligence, right? It's that I'm also you employing different skills, right? We are so gifted, all of us. We have access to so much more, right? And so you said expansive, and I think it is that. I sometimes think, though, for many times in my life, and I think it's sometimes in my clients' lives, it's almost the idea that feels stupid. It's the almost the idea that, like, makes you giggle, like, "Oh god, that's ridiculous. Oh, I couldn't do that. Oh my god, no, yeah. Who goes off and travels the world at this point?" I mean, like, it's the thing you really want. It sounds too good to be true. That's how you know it is true. That's how you know you got the fire for it. Or sometimes there's a pain or challenge in your life right now that you're thinking, "I didn't ask for this. Oh my god, how is this ever gonna be good?" or whatever. And I think that I believe the universe is always working with us, that life is always working with us to expand us, to grow us, right? To grow us into our next level of talent, ability, awareness, right? So I think that intuition and instinct comes many, many different ways. The purpose of our lives, I deeply believe, is that we are here to listen to an inner voice of love instead of an inner voice of fear, right? Or an inner voice of strength instead of an inner voice of weakness, because the voice you listen to in your lifetime will determine your entire life, your outlook, your perspective, the people you meet, the people you contact, everything. It is the most important thing you can do on this planet is to learn to trust yourself, right? To learn how to listen to that voice of love instead of fear.
This is so good. And I want to ask you how we learn to listen to that voice again if we've disconnected. So I remember you and I were chatting before we hit record about a time in my life where there was like a 10-year period of feeling stuck and spinning and struggling with anxiety, panic attacks, eating disorder. There are so many similarities to your story. And I had, I think, multiple kind of breakdown moments along the way there, but I had really disconnected from my inner voice. And there was a time in my life during that season where I remember I was in outside sales working for a marketing company, and I would have like a couple hours drive just to go see clients and accounts. And the voice in my head was telling me that there were like things were so wrong in my life. But it was so painful. This as I'm saying this out loud, I'm like, oh, I could have just listened to that voice. But here's the thing: it was so painful that was actually how I discovered podcasts, because I needed to hear something other than the voice in my head.
Wow.
I feel like I have a beautiful connection now where I can listen, but there was a long time where I didn't feel like I could. How does someone approach that if they're like, "I think if I listened to the voice in my head, I'd go crazy?"
First, quickly, because it's so relevant to what we're talking about, I personally do this technique all the time. If you want to go to tamakieves.com/best-tool, it's a little quickie video that will actually make you do this. What it accomplishes is you can only hear one voice at a time. You can either be listening to fear or you can be listening to strength, right? You can be listening to the crazy lies, or you could be listening to possibilities, but you are only hearing one voice at a time. You can go back and forth, like many of us do. But when I'm listening to a voice of strength or love or neutrality or intelligence, I literally cannot hear my fear. And
Mm.
sadly, when I'm listening to those crazy fears that you were talking about, when you're distraught, you literally don't even know that there's another voice in you. But this technique that I came up with, inspired self dialogues, it helps me get out the fear. It helps me get out the fear and dump it all. And then it helps me imagine that I'm opening to another voice. So it's almost that you decide that you're going to listen to, if you're spiritual, maybe you have a higher voice, right? If that's your call, maybe you have an instinct that way. Maybe you have had a relative who's loved you and believed in you, or maybe there's been a best friend, or I often say to people, what would I say to a best friend or to a child that I wanted everything for? Would I be talking to this soul that way? Right. So I lead you through different prompts and go back and forth and back and forth. But basically, what I have found is no matter how much fear I have, no matter how much, and I'm saying fear, but it could be anger, it could be shame, it could be disconnection, it could be evidence that I'm not doing well, that I'm failing, that nobody's gonna like me, that I'm gonna get rejected, right? No matter how much evidence I have going on in my brain, there's another part of me that has other evidence. So the thing that I want people to hear is that you are not seeing your reality. You are not seeing your life. You are seeing your beliefs about your life. And we don't realize that. Not only that, but neuroscience has shown that when I have a belief about something, my mind will literally go and look for the evidence of that belief. And that's all it will do. It will look for the evidence of what I'm already believing. It will not show me anything else. So I want to just tell a quickie story on this because I started doing some work with it personally. I had a belief, and it still comes up here and there. I had a belief secretly that would say, I never get what I want. I never get what I want. See, I'm never going to get what I want. A client wouldn't come through, a new client, right? Oh, see, I'm never going to get what I want. Or the podcast I wanted to be on didn't come through. Oh, see, I'm never going to get they ran out of my favorite lipstick. They discontinued that color. God, real tragedies now of I'm never gonna get what I want. Right. So I started looking at where does this belief come from? Because clearly I'm a girl who's gotten some of what I wanted. I wanted to publish books and I got the best publisher, I hit Random House and blah, 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 and whatever. Um, so I started looking at it, and I remembered as a child, I'd had an experience where I was shopping with my mother, and we were in a department store, and I was young, and I saw these red shoes, and I wanted these red shoes with all my heart. I was like, "Oh my god, I have to have them." My little heart was open, but my mother's like, my mother was a really no frills woman, right? And so I thought, she is never gonna get the red shoes. She's gonna go, "The red shoes, what do you need with that? The green elf shoes, they're on sale. We'll get those." Of, so but that day, I don't know what happened, she said, "Yeah, let's go get them." So I was in bliss. They were wrapping the red shoes, they're putting it in the box, they're putting it in the tissue paper, putting box in the shopping bag, and later that day, my mother lost the shopping bag. And so I formed that belief. I was crushed. And I think as a little girl, I probably came up with this idea that said, I'll never get what I want. And I think it was a defense against pain or against disappointment, right? Like, don't even want things. Don't even hope that you're going to get what you want. It's safer to tell yourself this belief. And looking at it now, I had realized, oh my God, I was using one disappointment in life to extrapolate that and close my heart, close my energy, close my desire to all of life, to stop believing I could have anything because of this one thing, right? So it was a life-changing moment, but even wilder than that was years later, I was talking to my mother about that story, and she looked at me like I was speaking Greek or something, and she's like, "What are you even talking about?" And I'm like, "The red shoes, we never got the red shoes." And she's like, "What do you mean we got those red shoes?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we got them, but you lost the shopping bag." And she's like, "Yeah, I lost the shopping bag. I called the store and we got them."
Mm.
And I had no memory whatsoever of getting the red shoes. I remembered my belief, I will never get what I want. And I did not remember that. And so it goes back to what we were just talking about before, how your mind will literally block out other evidence.
Mm.
You will have a belief and it will literally block out everything that doesn't go along with that belief. But when you start opening to other beliefs and you start practicing other beliefs, you start seeing a whole new world of evidence, a whole new world of you, right? So I think it's the most important thing we can do is start to really look at how powerful our minds are, how powerful these stories are and these beliefs are.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I remember that story from the book, and I remember thinking about that and thinking, how much of what I remember as childhood trauma for that isn't even actually true? And I think, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this, something like half of our memories aren't even true.
I teach a Course in Miracles, and it literally says that the past that you remember never even happened the way that you think you remember it.
Wow.
'Cause it's who remembers it. What part of you is telling the story?
Mhm. Ah, that's yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you said you're not seeing your reality, you're seeing your beliefs about your reality.
I wrote a book called Learning to Trust Yourself, right? I don't think doubts are wrong. I think that's what's supposed to happen. In fact, I have some place in the book where I talk about the way that you learn to trust yourself is you go into things that make you doubt yourself, right?
Mhm.
You literally go into things that make you doubt yourself. That's how you learn to trust yourself. So when you decided I wanna go to this bigger level, right? Whatever that is, or different level, right? We don't even have to say bigger level. It could be different level because for somebody's growth edge, it could be, "I don't wanna be that big.
Yeah.
I like being on a beach alone and blah, 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 and I don't care what other people say statistically is success and what it's supposed to look like and what this industry says. I wanna listen to me," right? So, for me, there's no big or small. It's like right or wrong to you. That's it, right? But it will always bring up those fears, right? Because it's bringing up the parts of us that have not yet come on board with who we really are,
Mm.
right? And it's learning, it's a choice point every single time. Every single time I've stopped at this doorway. Every single time I've listened to this, I've stopped over here. I'm going to go past that doorway this time.
Mm.
And I do want to say for listeners that it's not even for me, if I were working with you, it's not even about, oh, and you're guaranteed to succeed after that, or that's the success. To me, I don't even I mean, I of course care what happens, in the real world, but really what I care is that you walk through that doorway, that you gave yourself the chance. Because the real success is how much will I give myself 1,000 chances? That not everything has to take off exactly the way I think, because this is happening in a creative way, in ways I can't even imagine. Like many of us have had to fail or do things wrong or get hurt so that we knew, oh my God, I want to do this. Right? Like we need that contrast all the time. And so again, my definition of success for people isn't always how much money did you make, how much fame did you garner, right? I like all that stuff. Don't get me wrong. But for me, it's did you listen? Did you trust your spirit? Right? Did you go somewhere you hadn't gone before? Were you kind to yourself when you did it? Like different metrics. So I'm so proud of you for doing that. That's pretty freaking amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love your take on all of that, and the way that you talk about it resonates and is very similar to, how I made that choice back then, 'cause I remember one of my clients said his dad passed away, pretty suddenly, but right before he died, his dad, who I don't think had ever my understanding is that he didn't speak to him this way during a lot of his life, but right before he died, he said, "Take fear out of it. That's always gonna lead you on the right path."
Wow.
So
Wow.
and
Love it.
yeah, you said
Love
something
it.
similar earlier.
Yep.
Um, I'm curious, I wanna ask you I have so many questions. I do wanna ask you about your take on identity work and how it ties in with what we're talking about here. So, I've heard it said, "Don't focus so much on manifesting an end goal as manifesting the version of yourself who has that end goal accomplished."
Mm.
And to me, I love that approach to growth, that approach to goals, because I think that the real gift in any external achievement is who we become in the process. And so one of the things that I believe in that we teach here in the community is that your results will never supersede your identity. And so if
Yes.
there's a verge that there's a goal of you doing this thing, which is on the other side of the door, like maybe somebody wants to leave corporate and launch a business.
Yes.
The reason someone might look at that on a vision board and feel frustrated that it's not happening is that they're not doing the inner work to actually create the identity and the self concept of
Absolutely.
so, how much of
Absolutely.
that work do you do in your own life, and how do
Oh
you
my God, it's everything.
identity?
It's everything. So
Okay.
when I wrote my first book, This Time I Dance, Creating the Work You Love, it took me 12 years to write that first book. And, talk about manifesting quickly. No. But I always tell people it took me 11 years to heal. 11 years to start trusting, 11 years to start knowing who I was, right? And 1 year to write a book, right? And so I always share that example is exactly what you said. It's all about who I believe myself to be. That's why, again, that's why I wrote Learning to Trust Yourself, is I realized, well, that's the baseline of everything. To create anything, it's really about the relationship I have with myself. And so, like, for instance, a lot of times people are trying to manifest, right? But they're doing it from a place of lack. And what I mean by that is secretly, I'm thinking, I'm not good enough. And when I write and publish a book, then I'll be somebody, right? And when I make a six-figure income, when I make a seven-figure income, when I make a 20-figure, it never stops, right? And so for me, it's I have a chapter in Learning to Trust Yourself where I talked a lot about that, where it's not so much about what your life looks like, but what does it feel like to you? What does it feel like? Because again, in my life, a lot of my quote manifestation was going the opposite way. I wanted more simplicity. I wanted to be free. I wanted to, and so again, we're all different that way, but it's not so much what it appears to be and what it looks like, but what is it feeling like to you? And the other thing I would say is, and this has been a huge learning for me in recent years, is that thing of, am I going after a goal because I genuinely want that? Like, so I'll just use my own example. Like, I want my books to affect everybody on the planet, right? I want them to spread like wildfire. I want, people to know my work. I have two different motivations for that. One is the authentic motivation, right? Of that I am here for this calling. I know I got something to say. I know it affects people. I'm born for this. I want to share it. I want to give it, right? That's a beautiful motivation. It's just a genuine, it's for this I came. I know that, right? Then there's the other motivation that can get in my way of, I'll be successful. I'll finally be somebody. I'll make what you're supposed to make, whatever that is. And now it changes every damn year. Like I'll live whatever, I will finally be normal. Somehow I will finally have stepped into normalcy, wherever the hell that is. And so I have to always look at myself honestly about where am I coming from, right? And so, like what motivation, right? And so, like I mentioned before, I teach A Course in Miracles, which is a spiritual study of living in love instead of fear, and it's always talking about that. There's no one action that's right or wrong ever, ever. Right? There's no one action that's ever right or wrong or circumstance. It's the meaning you give to it. It's where it's coming from. It's your motivation behind it, right? Am I coming from my love? Am I coming from my strength? Am I coming from my alignment, right? Or am I coming to prove something? Or am I coming from my defensiveness? Am I coming from my inadequacy, right? And so it's just learning that, because when you talk about identity, what if, God, what if we all had the identity that we're already whole, that we are already guided, that there is a genius in each of us, And there's a genius in our life, the way our life is occurring right now, even if it's not what you think you want. There's something about it. There's something if there wasn't something here for you, you wouldn't be here. Right? If there wasn't something, I always say there's always a trajectory. There's always magic right here. And everybody's looking at, well, I'll get it over there. I'll get it over there. And it's like it's an illusion because it's here. We need to be present here. So, what if the identity was that I am connected to a larger source than I could possibly imagine? I am connected to an infinite intelligence that could do anything at any time with me, through me, as me, right? Um, or again, if that's my identity, and I'm coming from that place and I'm learning the ways of that versus I'm small me and I got to work for it and force it and grab it and figure it out. And, because I know for myself, there's a place where I've never felt safe. I've never felt there when I'm looking at external goals. But
Mm,
when I'm in that other place of, like I said, for this I came, for this moment I came, to meet people like you I came, right? Of when I'm really present in that love, this is enough. This is the juice, right? Because, they always say there's no there, right? On the other side of whatever you think it is, you're still going to have stuff. I mean, I've given huge speaking engagements, like the keynote of my life, right? Whatever. I came home and still had to change the calendar. It's like, you're still gonna deal with I still had to be me, I still had to come through and think about me, right? So, for me, I think to your point about really getting clear about a different identity of who you are, and for me personally, really having a different relationship with myself is what is allowing me to have a different relationship with the world, because the more I am kinder, loving, stronger, patient, whatever it is, right? I'm not falling into the old stories of self-comparison or disempowerment or all the things that have always hooked me. The more that I am working with that, I am becoming free and alive and things just happen and they move and it's not even me. So I think it's a shortcut sometimes is to really, when you say how much about working on yourself, I would say everything. I'd say 100% and then everything else happens.
oh my gosh. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, there's a concept I was playing with the other day, which you reminded me of. And it's just something I've been thinking about, so I don't have a lot fleshed out about it. But
Mhm.
any part of our lives where it feels like things aren't flowing the way we would love, there's something in us that's not fully expressed. There's something where we're not being who we truly are in that part of life, whether it's career, relationship, love. I think it's fun to think about. I know you mentioned wholeness, and I love that because we have a concept in the community called selling from wholeness, which is what happens when
Mm.
we approach our business or our sales career from a place of I'm already abundant. I'm
Yes.
already successful.
Exactly.
It,
And people feel that. It's an
yeah.
energy, right? You don't have to convince anybody of anything.
Yeah.
When you're right there in your truth and your realness and your presentness and your love, it's just there's an alignment, right? Of that the right people are there. Like I'm sure you've had that experience. Like there are the people you just connect with, or they even say like in business, I think it's 80% of your business comes from 20% of the people.
Mm, mhm.
Right? You don't need everybody. You don't need everything. You need your right people, but you're never going to find your right people when you're not right in yourself, right? When I'm when I'm looking out there like, "Oh, should I sell you or you or you?"
Mm.
Instead of I'm so aligned with me that I just pay attention to who I click with or where there's energy or where there's motion, and then something just arises.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. You'll never find your right people when you are not right in yourself.
Yeah.
That is not in any sales training, but it should be.
It should be.
It should be in every sales training. I wanna ask you before you share with people where they can connect with you, and I know you've got a class coming up too, which I'd love for you to speak about.
Yeah.
Just any final words of wisdom for someone who is ready to listen to themselves again, ready to learn to trust themselves. Maybe they're in what feels like a dark night of the soul, which I love how Wayne Dyer put it.
Mhm.
It's really a dark night of the ego. Or
Mm.
maybe they're in a moment of expansion and they're like, oh,
Yes.
stakes feel higher with this one. Can I really like, does this still apply?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
any last words of wisdom?
Absolutely. So I know a lot of us feel like, we have so many doubts or we have so many fears or we have so much, we're in Yiddish we'd call it mishigas, like, but I guess what I'd want you to know, there is a part of you that has no doubt. There is a part of you that is undiluted. There is a part of you that has no fear whatsoever. There is a part of you that is with you 100% of the way, all the way, because it will never, ever, ever let you fail. It will be with you at all times, always. And that you're never going to answer the doubt by listening to the doubt. You're never going to feel more secure about it by coming up with reasons and whatever. It's listening to the part of you that has this knowing that I think I'm onto something. I
Mm.
think I know something. I think I'm called there. The way I know I'm called is because I don't know, it has energy for me, and other things don't have energy, right? This has energy. That is a clue. And the more that you listen to that, the more that you will start realizing, oh my God, there is a part of me that is flawless.
Mhm.
That has no concept of success and failure in the old way and absolutely knows another way that will take me all the way, right? And so I want somebody who's listening to know that if you have a desire right now, whatever it is, even if it's just, I want to be able to breathe again. I want to be able to be okay again. Or if you have a desire that's like, yeah, I want to rock the free world, baby, right? What I don't care what it is, right? Of I want you to imagine that that desire isn't just some frivolous idea, some silly idea. What if that is a code within you?
Mm.
What if that is a life code within you? What if that is the divine intelligence? What if that is something that is imperative for your survival, imperative for your growth, imperative for you to become the next level of you, right? That where your happiness is. So again, for all of us, because I've worked with so many people and just seen what we can do when we're listening instead of fighting ourselves, what we can be when we're being kind instead of attacking ourselves, right? And it's a practice. I mean, I'm still practicing. I'll be practicing my whole life, right? It's a practice, but so I that's a main thing I'd want to tell somebody is to really please follow that. The world is in pain right now, and we need more undiluted people. We need people who are connected to a larger resource, who are connected to a stream of good, right? Because we're all connected to that. And the more of us that start doing that, it just spreads, right? So, um, if desire and happiness don't motivate you, I will try guilt. The world needs you. We're suffering. Please, please write what you need to write or do what you need to do. I don't care what motivation gets you there. Please follow that love inside you because it will blow you away. You are so much more than you think you are, so much more powerful than you know.
Wow. Wow, wow. Yes. I feel that. I know that our listeners received that and know that as well. And if you're in a we're always in a place of becoming, right? To your point, it's never done. If you're in a more painful part of becoming, know that there's a gift for you in it that you get to lean into. And then for those who are feeling called to something far greater, which I know everyone is who's listening to this show, um, listen to that, follow
Mm.
that, trust that there's something meant to come through you specifically. So, this was amazing. My heart is so full just listening to you. I know that you have more, and I want to give people a way to get in touch with you.
I'm actually doing a free worldwide event online called Trust Yourself Now. And it's like this, but it's just question and answer. And I'm going to give you some techniques. And my community events are amazing because there's so much love and energy and people around the world. And it's also recorded. If you can't come live, it's really worth it. Um, I believe the link is tamakieves.com/trust dash yourself dash now. Yeah, I mentioned the best tool earlier. Please do that. Don't like download it and do it. When you're in fear, when you're not sure, or even if you're excited about something, it is going to transform your state of mind. I kid you not. People do it every single day. So make sure you do that. tamakieves.com/best dash tool. Um, also, definitely join me on social media. I'm on all the things. I'm on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and TikTok and YouTube and whatever else they invent. I will say for Facebook, my page was hacked. So so you have to go to the right Tama Kieves page. So it's facebook.com/Tama Kieves author. Please go there. We're just building the page again. Please join me on social media every day because I do videos that keep you supported. I'm very interactive with my community. I would very, very much love to hear from you. I really would because I would love to support you in any way and every way. Also, right now I'm on book tour, so check out the calendar because I might be in your city. If I'm not in your city, invite me to your city. I really want to be sharing this with aligned souls. So, just again, we've built a global family who are living from inspiration instead of fear. So I so hope you join me in any way that's right for you.
Oh my gosh. Yes, yes, yes. And the book is Learning to Trust Yourself. We're gonna find a way to get you here to Maine because I feel like your message, what you share, I mean, it's so powerful, it's so potent. It's thinking about all of us choosing to live lives that are undiluted.
And you're a gorgeous example of that. And I think it's those of us who teach from honesty, who teach from realness that really help others. So I love what you're doing.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Thank you. I feel like this was a really beautifully divinely ordained connection, and I'm excited to see just more of what comes from it. We'll have for those of you who are in our community and our programs, we're gonna have Tama. We'll figure out how to get you in on more things because I absolutely love, love, love the work that you're doing. To you, my listener, please go connect with Tama, buy her book, get involved in her community and her programs, and connect with her on social as she shared as well. So grateful to you for being a member of this community, being a podcast listener. If this episode resonated, please share it. Share it with your community, share it on social, tag Tama, tag me. And we're always so grateful when you leave a review on Apple or Spotify. And as we close out, I want to remind you to trust yourself on your path to success. Your desires are green lights leading you and everyone around you to a brighter future. I'll see you on the next episode.